Welcome back. You're still tuned in to Salam Media with myself, Salailo Makwidire. And in a bit, we'll be focusing on, I think, an issue that has been a thorn for South Africa and for the Western Cape for the longest of times, the issue of crime syndicates and gang violence and the prevalence of gangs in the Western Cape, in Cape Town and the Cape Flats. It's an issue that I think, it doesn't seem to be, the government is not getting a grip on it. You have community policing forums and community members trying to try and curb it, but it doesn't seem like there's an end in near because I think, from my opinion, there isn't enough support, coming from national government. And this is something that I've been really, really, talking passionately about the fact that in the Western Cape, particularly in Cape Town, because that part of the world is ran by the Democratic Alliance. And for the longest time, the national government has been the ANC, which sees, the Democratic Alliance as their direct enemy. Well, they are now in bed together in this government of national unity, or whatever you might want to call it. But they haven't been giving as much support as you'd expect to the Western Cape and to the people of Cape Town and the Cape Flats. And this has, spiraled out of control, and it's been going on for so long that you would expect that the gang violence and the crime syndicates that are operating in Cape Town should by now at least have a solution around it. But there isn't nothing like that at the moment. And we'll be speaking to Cape Town-based community policing forum, Yaseen Johaar. Yaseen, thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Salam Media. I really appreciate you giving us your time.
A pleasure. Walaikum salam to all those tuned in and viewers listening.
Mm, mm. Um, I was making a point of the fact that the issue of gangsterism and crime syndicates in Cape Town has been going on for so long that it almost feels like there is no solution. And this largely could be because the Western Cape is obviously run by the Democratic Alliance, and national government has for the longest time been ran by the ANC. And these two are direct competitors. So, in my mind, this is just my analysis. The national government, the ANC, is not giving enough support to the Western Cape because, well, if crime is being curbed in the Western Cape, then it means all the credit will be given to the Democratic Alliance, and they don't want that. What do you make of that analysis? Do you feel like there's enough support from national government to try and fight gangsterism and crime syndicates in the Western Cape? A problem that's been happening, I think, since the beginning of time, essentially.
However, it's half complete, you know. And the way in order to complete it is because it's vice versa. It's not just from national government side, where they don't want to sort out crime in the Cape Town otherwise, and then DA would then get the credit for that, as you've mentioned. But it's also the other way around. I believe that provincial government has the capacity to do what they're supposed to do. However, credit would then move to national government, you know. But what we
Mm,
can agree to, and I think and that will be the complete analysis then. But what we can agree to is that yes, definitely the political conflict has a major impact on um, on um, on things on the ground here in Cape Town. Remember, if not too long ago we had about 100 of this taxis in the townships being removed in one day,
mm,
and so which means that there is capacity to and power to make impact, So imagine if you look at if we put that context in the community of on Cape Town, how much rage and how much things can then be removed also, so I do believe that yes, the impact of the political indifferences here in the Cape is a major factor, and it's
mm,
really sad because it's at the lives of people, whether they're even gangsters, it's human lives. And
mm,
so, and included in that is the human, I mean, the innocent people as well. So, if in order to curb and to start, because we're not even seeing improvements, there's claims being made. However, things on the ground is it's still consistent and continuing. What needs to happen is that there need to be a political will, and that local and national government need to set things aside and realize that we're in a crisis. The numbers of murdered people and people wounded is equivalent to that in wars across the world. So they need to play their role and in order for things to then change.
Mm. And what's really concerning for me is the fact that because gangsterism has become almost entrenched into the what you call maybe the poorer parts of Cape Town where black and colored people are. Um, there seems to be other syndicates, international syndicates. We from the Kasi, the hood. We know gangsterism has always been there. We know gangsters, they've always been part of the townships and the communities. But then it seems now there's also a rise in international syndicates that are coming in. I seen a post here that you have Bulgarians that are coming in. You have Colombians that are now coming in, even the Czechs, Nigerians, the Chinese, because the ground is so fertile for those to operate. From your opinion, as someone who's part of a community policing forum, how have you seen crime and gangsterism and these syndicates kind of evolve throughout the years?
Look, the community policing forum that we currently from is one of the I would say one of the worst places in on the Cape Flats, where about 30% of the shots reported according to the shot spotter was came in Western Cape came from our community in Hanover Park, the precinct that Philippi Hanover Park CPF covers. I want to take it a notch down. Yes, there is international influence.
Mm,
However, if you're looking at things on the ground, it's really sad because yes, we're seeing gang violence, but no one is putting emphasis on the root causes. It's
mm,
not that gangsterism is just rife. What we need to see and what is being put under the carpet is that all those communities where gang violence is rife, you find struggling schools. You find even in the community of Hanover Park, more than 500 dropouts, school dropouts. You're finding unemployment rife. You're finding that people don't even have electricity in the house. And those are the circumstances. And then on top of it, what makes it so sad is that if you look in the same community, just taking the one technology, there's a shot spotter technology that picks up, this mic system, so that they can identify where the shots is being where the shots has been shot, and then there's a response to that. There's CCTV cameras. The drone was launched in the community. There's law enforcement and there is police, and still crime has not decreased. That tells us a lot. That tells us that millions and billions is being invested in the community, but however, it's invested into the wrong things. You cannot
mm,
invest so much in technology, but there's people in the houses that's going to sleep for 2, 3 days on end without food.
mm,
People struggling to go to school. The teenagers is not making it in order to enter university. What needs to happen is, if you're looking at the shot spotter alone, the rented technology that over the 3 years that it's being issued out in Hanover Park, I think it's like I think if you equivalent, we did the calculations. It's about 500,000 rand spent on the technology a month just for Hanover Park,
sure.
if not more. What we're saying is, couldn't that couldn't that money be invested into the root cause of crime? If you're going to improve conditions in Hanover Park in the schools, you model the schools and make it equivalent to Model C schools. You make sure that those 500 teenage school dropouts, go back to school. You make sure that employment increase maybe about 5 or 10%. If you can do those things, I can put my head on a block to say that gang violence would also then decrease.
Mm,
However, I will end off with this. We also need to realize that the gang violence scenario on the Cape Flats, we're not even touching base on the addiction and drug addiction and drug smuggling, but just the gang violence. It is also profitable to some people. And I'm not speaking to just gangsters, but also other stakeholders and institutions, that need crime to take place in order to still leverage, whether it is funding, whether it is additional resources and so on. So it's a really sad circumstances that the condition is actually played in a way that people are actually benefiting. other than the
mm.
people and the community of Hanover Park.
And I think what's really concerning for me is there's almost a sense of it being desensitized when it comes to the Western Cape and the Cape Flats and what's happening there. Well, we're in Gauteng here, and I'm sure it almost feels the same for people in other parts of the country because there isn't enough uproar and there isn't enough conversations around it because we're seeing it so much to a point where people now start to consider it as a norm that their kids literally kids as young as 16, 17, 18 shooting each other on the streets of Langa and Nyanga and Hanover Park and Grassy Park and Cape Town and Cape in the general Cape Flats area. Almost every week you see it on the news, you see it on social media, and people are desensitized to it. How much of a danger do you think that is when the rest of the country starts to see it as a norm, which I think in many parts by now it's already feeling that way?
Look, if we there were certain times in our community, and I can only speak from our community specifically, where shootings of about 50 to 100 shots daily can be
Mm,
heard. And so obviously there would be this desensitization, not by just not because we want to do so, but because just by the what else can we do? We're there to survive, our daily survival. So as human beings, we just adapt to the situation. There's nothing much that we can do. It's not that the community at large is just desensitized and don't care. But if you took the same scenarios, what that is happening on the Cape Flats, and you put it in the more affluent areas, you will see that
mm,
those affluent areas will also become your Hanover Parks, your Langas, and your Kayalichas. So again, it leads back to um, the solution is very easy. Invest into the root causes of crime. And if and it makes me upset because when we're looking at our public servants, those who we put into power and is representing us, the conditions in on the Cape Flats is so poor. If it was improving, then I'm and then surely they would have sent their own children to the schoolings that we go to,
mm,
to the hospitals that we go to the facilities that we go to. But never would they do that because of the pathetic state that it's in. You understand? So
mm,
what needs to happen is, because I don't want to just be negative, but what needs to happen is you need to take the community on the grounds that is living the daily struggles and bring them to the conversation and actually value the input and use the input in order to tailor make a package that would actually start making an impact, start decreasing crime, start improving the conditions in society. Because currently you're having individuals making decisions with their suits and ties in this lavish aircon offices, but they don't have a clue of what is really
mm.
happening on the grounds.
No, definitely. I think we're going to leave it on that note, Yaseen. Thank you so much for joining us. And painting a picture for us. Although it's a grim picture, but I think these are important conversations that need to be had, so that people don't forget about the Cape Flats and that there's literally a disaster every day unfolding in that part of the world. And as per usual, it's black and colored people that get the wrong end of the stick. So really, really appreciate it for that. Thank you so much.
Sure. Bye.
There we go. Yeah, I think yeah, it's really, really important to have that conversation where we explore the harsh realities of life on the Cape Flats, where crime has deeply entrenched itself and it has impacted the lives of black and colored communities. We've seen how gang violence, substance abuse, and I think, as Yassin mentioned, their limited access to economic opportunities have perpetuated a cycle of poverty and fear. And this is leaving residents feeling vulnerable and often unheard. The challenges they are complex, deeply rooted, political, and we are making for an urgent and loud call for intervention from law enforcement, local leaders, and community organizations. And we need meaningful change, man. Yeah, it's always leaves me quite emotional when I think about the K flats because those are our people there, and it Cape Town prides itself as being, the world's best city and space picturesque. It's Instagram, it's where you want to be, but there's a dark side to it, and a dark side which largely goes ignored because, well, there's people of a certain color and that speak a certain way, which are there, and they've been marginalized since the dawn of time here in South Africa. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, News and Views continues.
We are here in the middle of a Zahra neighborhood. The whole neighborhood is already destroyed. More than 17 towers are down. Here, as you can see, the firefighters trying their best to help. The people are still under the rubble. A lot of the people.
Join Hamza on his exclusive South African tour as he shares his personal experiences, never before seen footage, and powerful insights on the ongoing genocide in Gaza. This is more than just a talk. It's an invitation to witness Gaza through the lens of Hamza Sha'alan. Don't miss this opportunity to meet the photojournalist who brought Gaza's pain and perseverance to the world in its darkest moments. Follow Salam Media on social media pages for more on this tour and be